Shalom. Today I'm talking about the book Esther and the Feast of Purim, because many don't know what the feast is exactly about. And I want to talk about the Feast of Purim, which is coming around the corner now on the 60th, 70th March, comes the Feast of Purim, and I want to talk about the book of Easter. I want to read with you the book of Easter, because it is my favorite, and we will discover much things. Book of Esther, chapter 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Artaxerxes, this is Artaxerxes, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 170 provinces. In those days, when the king Artaxerxes sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace, in the third year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him, when he shewed the riches of his glorious kingdom, and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 140 fourscore days. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days, in the court of garden of the king's palace, wherewith white, green, and blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen, and purple to silver rings, and pillars and marble. The beds were of gold and silver, upon a pavement of red, and blue, and white, and black, and marble. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another one, and royal wine in abundance according to the state of the king. And the drinking was according to the law, none did compel. For so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house, that they should do according to every man's pleasure. And here we see how king is reacting. That's the same like the politicians are reacting nowadays. Also Vashti the king made a feast to the women in the royal house which belonged to the king Artaxerxes. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Pizza, Hanbona, Bigta, and Abda, and Seha, and Carcas, the 7 complainers that served in the presence of Artaxerxes the king, to bring Vashti the king before the king with the royal crown, to show the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look on. But the refused to come to the king's command by his companions. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. Then the king said to the wise men which knew the things, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment. And the next unto him was Kashena, Shishtara, Atma, Tarshish, Meres, Mersena, and Memucan, and the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to the law, because she has not performed the command of King Artaxerxes by the complainers? And Memucan answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the queen has not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes, to all the people that are in the provinces of the king Xerxes. For in this deed of the queen shall come abroad to all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes when it shall be reported. The king Xerxes commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this unto all the king's princes which have heard of the deed of the queen. Therefore arise too much contempt and wrath. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and Medians that is not to be altered, that Vashti came no more before the king Xerxes, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. You see, to humble yourself before your husband is blessing you. It's a blessing, yeah, because if you despise your husband, you are no more than worth to be called wife, cause yeah, who is caring the entire day for someone? If you love him, if you love your husband and respect him, he will respect you and love you back more than when nowadays the relationships never last long. Yeah, and you know why? Cause no one knows any more love to one another. And when the king's decree which he shall make shall be published throughout all empires, for it is great, all the wives shall give to the husband's honor, both to great and small. And the saying pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memucan. And for he sent letters unto all the king's provinces, into every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that where man should bear rule in his own house, and it shall be published according to the language of every people. Chapter 2. After these things, when the wrath of King Xerxes was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servant that ministered unto him, Let there be fair young virgins sought for the king, and let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of the kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace, to the house of the women, and the custody of Hegai, the king's complaint keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given them. You know that in fact purification, in the book Esther, we see how we should prepare ourselves for our soon coming king YAHUAH. And if Esther had to prepare herself 1 year to meet the king, how can it be that some people of you think that they can be prepared at the last second when the King of Kings and the Master of Masters will return back? Cause he want to marry us, but how can he marry us when we are not purified? It is impossible. It is impossible. Now, and let the maiden which pleased the king to be queen instead of Vashti, and the thing pleased the king, and he did so. So it means YAHUAH wants you remember the parable of Yahusha, who is YAHUAH in flesh, that he said there are 5 wise virgins and 5 foolish virgins. And he wants to choose a wife. Israel is his wife, and he says, if you are not prepared, when you have not the oil ready, when you aren't ready, I cannot take you in. We go to Matthew 25. Then shall the kingdom of heavens be like unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps, and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. While the bridegroom tried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry, Behold, the bridegroom comes, go ye out to meet him. We are now before the midnight cry. Be prepared. Behold, the bridegroom comes, go ye out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, Go out and give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there be not enough for us and you, but go ye rather to them that sell, and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. You have to be prepared, like in the book of Esther. Those people, those wives, had 1 year to prepare themselves for purification, and he chose them the best. And so it is the King of Kings and Master of Master YAHUAH, who is Yahusha, has the same way to marry us. He wants to return, and he says, I will return for you. The midnight cry will sound soon, and you have to be prepared. You have to choose if you want to be among the 5 wise virgins or among the 5 foolish virgins. Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Master, Master, or YAHUAH, open us. But he answered and said, Verily I say unto you, I know you not. Watch therefore, ye know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man comes. And that's how YAHUAH is dealing with us. Many say, well, the book of Esther has nowhere the name of God or YAHUAH in it. But the fact is, there are 3 versions of the book of Esther. In Greek, you have the name of YAHUAH in it. In the Hebrew version not. In the Aramaic Takrum, I place them in the comment section, and you can read them for yourselves. And you will find out details when you read a book without your indoctrinated glasses. Now in Shushan, the palace, there was a certain Yahudim, whose name was Mordechai, the son of Yair, and the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjaminite, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with a captivity which had been carried away in Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. You see, Hadassah means star. Yeah, that's the meaning of the name. And it came to pass, when the king's command and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan, the palace, to the custody of Hegai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house to the custody of Hegai, keepers of the women. And the maidens pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and he speedily gave her her things for purifications, with such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens which were met to be given her out of the king's house, and he preferred her and her maidens unto the best palace of the house of the women. Esther had not shewed her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it. And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her. Now when every maiden's turn was come to go into the king Xerxes, after that she had been 12 months according to the manner of the women, for so were the days of the purification accomplished, 2 weeks, 7 months with oil of myrrh, and with 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for the purifying of the women. You see, makeup, whatever, is not forbidden, but for adultery it is forbidden. Then thus came every maiden unto the king, whatsoever she desired was given to her, to go with her out of the house of the women into the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the second house of the women, for the custody of the Shechais, the king's Cumberland, which kept the concubines. She came into the king no more, except the king delights in her, and that she were called by name. When you are called by your name from the King of Kings and Master of Masters, that is an honor, cause yeah, he knows you by your name. Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abiel, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Hegai, the king's complaint, the keeper of women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that looked upon her. So Esther was taken unto the king Xerxes into his house, royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebet, in the 7th year of the reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight, more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head, and made her queen instead of Vashti. Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast, and he made a release to the provinces, and gave gifts according to the state of the king. And the virgins were gathered together the second time. Then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Esther had not shewed her kindred nor her people, as Mordecai had. Makeup is not sin. Makeup is sin when you use it for adultery. Cause Esther had makeup, Esther had oils, Esther had perfume. Yeah, and Yahuwah wants us also in beauty. If you do it decent, not like nowadays, but if you use the natural way, natural things, you are beautiful. You can use, here it says in Esther for, chapter 2 verse 12 what Queen Esther has used. She used mirrors, sweet odors, and much makeup. Queen Esther was fully beautiful. So, chapter 20. Esther had not yet shewed her kindred nor her people as Mordecai had charged her, for Esther did the commandment of Mordecai like as when she was brought up with him. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's companions, Bigtan and Teresh, those which kept the door, were worse and sought to lay hand on the king Xerxes. And the thing was known to Mordecai. He told it unto Esther the queen, and Esther certified the king thereof in the Mordecai's name. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore they were both hanged on the tree, and it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king. After these things, the king Xerxes promoted Haman, the son of I tell you more about such things, but to use makeup is not sin. But it doesn't belong now to that topic. After these things, King Xerxes promoted Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, and advanced him and set him his seat above all the princes there that were with him. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. Then the king's servants which were in the king's gate said unto Mordecai, Why thou transgressed thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whatever Mordecai's matter would stand, for he had told them that he was a Yahudi. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath, and he sought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had shewed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all Yahudim that were throughout the whole kingdom of Xerxes, even the people of Mordecai. In the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of the king Xerxes, they caused Purim. It is the feast of lots. They caused Pur, that is the lot, before Haman from the day to day, and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month Adar. And Haman said unto King Xerxes, There is a certain people, scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people, neither keep they the king's laws, therefore it is not for the king's prophets to suffer them. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver. Mordecai was Yahudim. He was from the tribe of Benjamin. If it pleases the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business, to bring it into the king's treasuries. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and the Yahudim enemy. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seems good to thee. Therefore then were the king's scribes called unto the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's people, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. In the name of King Xerxes was it written and sealed with the king's ring. And the letter was sent by post into all the king's provinces, to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Yahudim, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. The copy of the writing for all commandment to be given to every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. The posts went out by hastened by the king's command, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed. Chapter 4. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city, and cried with a loud and a bitter cry, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province whatsoever the king's command and his decree came, there was a great mourning among the Yahudim, and fasting, and weeping, and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her complaints came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she set raiment to clothe Mordecai, and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther to Hathach, one of the king's complainers, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a command to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. So Hathach went forth to Mordecai unto the streets of the city which was before the king's gate, and Mordecai told him all of that had happened unto him, and the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to king's treasuries of the Yahudim, and to destroy them. And he also gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given to at Shushan to destroy them, to shew it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go into the king to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for the people. And Hathach came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. And Esther spake unto Hathach, and gave him command unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's province do know that whosoever, what man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called him, there is one law of his to put him into death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he might live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king this 30 days. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not that thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Yahudim. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, Then there shall there an enlargement and deliverance arise to the Yahudim from another place, but thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knows whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? You are made for such a time as this as well. Everyone is made for such a time as this, because the King of Kings and Master of Masters is returning. We should stand our position before his face. We are kings and queens, and prices before him who is the Master of Masters and King of Kings, who has sacrificed himself to reconcile us with him. And if we acknowledge the signs of the times, we know we are made for such a time as this. In this book I see signs, little ways to know how I as person should react on the second return of Yahuwah, who is my Messiah, because I want to be ready that he can receive me. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer: Go gather together all the Yahudim that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, nay, a night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go in to the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. Now, chapter 5. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal appeal and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house, and the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw the Esther the queen standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight, and the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther, and what is thy request? It shall be given to thee to the half of the kingdom. And Esther answered, If it seems good. If it seems good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that have prepared for him. And the king said, Cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther has said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. And the king said unto Esther, at the banquet of wine, What is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom it shall be performed. Then answered Esther, and said, My petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it pleases the king, to grant my petition and perform my request, let the king and the Haman comes to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king has said. Then went Haman forth that day joyfully and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai. Nevertheless Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Zeresh his wife. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children, and all the things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes and servants of the king. Haman said moreover, Yea, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king into the banquet that she had prepared but myself, and tomorrow I am invited unto her also with the king. Yet all this avails me nothing so long as I see Mordecai the Yahudi sitting at the king's gate. Then said Zeresh his wife and all his friends unto him, Let a gallows be made 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go thou in a merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made. On that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told the king that they were seeking to lay hand on King Artaxerxes. And the king said, What honor and dignity has been done to Mordecai for this? Then said the king's servant that ministered unto him, There is nothing done for him. And the king said, Who is in the court? Now Haman was come into the outward court of the king's house, so speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. And the king's servant said unto him, Behold, Haman stands out in the court. And king said, Let him come in. And Haman came in, and the king said unto him, What shall be done unto the man whom the king delights to honor? Now Haman thought in his heart, To whom would the king delight to do honor more than to myself? If you exalt yourself, you will be humbled. Humble yourself. That's it. You dig your own grave if you are full of pride. And Haman answered the king, For the man whom the king delight to honor, let the royal apparel be brought with the king used to wear, and the horse that the king rides on, and the crown royal which is set upon his head. And let this appear in the house be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal whom the king delights to honor, and bring him on horseback through the streets of the city, and proclaim before him, This shall it be done unto the man whom the king delights to honor. Then the king says to Haman, Make haste and take the apparel and the horse as thou hast said, and do so even to the Mordecai the Yahudim that sits at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken. This is the turning point. Yeah. Here you are in the Hebrew book of Esther, other in the Greek book of Esther you find YAHUAH's action public, but in the Hebrew word you find only small details. Where is YAHUAH acting? Because YAHUAH is not always working visible. He is acting behind the scenes. Yeah? Then took Haman the apparel and the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him on horseback through the city of the street, and proclaimed before him, Thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delights to honor. And Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted to his house mourning and having his head covered. And Haman told Zeresh his wife and all his friends everything that had befallen him. Then says his wise men and Zeresh his wife unto him, If Mordecai be of the seed of Yahudim, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him, but thou shalt surely befall before him. And while they were talking with him, came the king's complainers, and hasted to bring Haman unto the banquet that Esther had prepared. So the king and Haman came to the banquet which Esther the queen had prepared. And the king said unto Esther, on the second day at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther, and it shall be granted to thee? And what is thy request, and it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom? Then Esther the queen answered and said, If I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it pleases the king, let my life be given me at my petition, my people of my request. For we are sold, and I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bound men and bound women, I had hold my tongue. Although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Then the king Xerxes answered and said unto Esther the queen, Who is he, and where is he, that does presume in his heart to do so? And Esther said, The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. You see, here we see how is YAHUAH reacting, because our enemy, the enemy of our souls, is Satan. He is always attacking us, always coming against us. He is our adversary, he is the enemy of our souls, always trying to get our chance to report us falsely before YAHUAH. And YAHUAH says, keep thy tongue. You are the enemy, not her, cause I have paid for her. If you are a child of YAHUAH, the enemy is always coming against you, but if you have YAHUAH, the blood printed on your doorpost, YAHUAH is saying, I have paid for her. You can no longer attack her, cause what was the guilt is paid. Yeah? And the king arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath went into the palace garden, and Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen, for he saw that there was evil demonstrated against him by the king. Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the palace of the banquet of wine, and Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was. Then said the king, Will he force the queen also before me in the house? And the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. And Harbona, one of the complainers, said before the king, Behold, also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who has spoken good for the king, stands in the house of Haman. Then the king said, Hang him thereon. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified. Chapter 8. On that day did the king Xerxes give the house of Haman to the Yahudim, enemy unto Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her. And the king took off his ring, which he had made from Haman, had taken from Haman, and gave it unto Mordecai. And Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman. And Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell upon his feet, and besought him with tears to put away the mischief of Haman the Agagite, and his device that he had devised against the Yahudim. The Agadites were the ancient enemies against Israel, already as they had left Egypt. You have to connect the points if you don't understand one book. And the king held out the golden scepter toward Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king, and said, If it pleases the king, and have found favor in his sight, and the thing seems good before the king, and be pleased in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, which he had wrote to destroy the Yahudim which are in all the king's provinces. For how can I endure to see the evil that shall come upon my people? Or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred? Then the king Xerxes said to Esther the queen, and to Mordecai the Yahudim, Behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and him they have hanged upon the gallows, because he laid his hands upon the Yahudim. Write ye also for the Yahudim, as it likes you, in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name, and sealed with the king's ring, may not no man reverse. Then were the king's scribes called at the time in the third month, that is the month Sivan, on the 23 day thereof, and it was written according to all the Mordecai commanded unto Yahudim, and to the people and deputies and rulers of the provinces which are from India unto Ethiopia, and 127 provinces, even every province according to the writing thereon, unto every people after their language, and to the Yahudim according to their writing and according to their language. And he wrote in the king Xerxes' name, and sealed it with the king's ring, and sent letters by the post of the horseback, and riders on mules, camels, and young horses, wherein the king granted the Yahudim, which were in every city, to gather themselves together, and to stand for their life, to destroy, to slay, and to cause perish all the power of the people and provinces that would assault them, both little ones and women, to take the spoil of them to our prey. Now upon one day in all the provinces, King Xerxes, upon the 30th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, the copy of a writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, and that the Yahudim should be ready against that day to avenge themselves of their enemies. So the posts that rode upon mules, and so whatsoever, being hastened and pressed by the king's command. And the decree was given at Shushan the palace, and Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel, blue and white, and with a great crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen and purple, and the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. The Yahudim had light and gladness and joy and honor. And in every province, city wheresoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Yahudim had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Yahudim, for the fear of the Yahudim fell on them. And the fact is that many people became Yahudim because the fear of the Yahudim fell on them. Yeah. And chapter 9. Now in the 12th month, that is the month Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Yahudim hoped to have power over them, now it was turned to the contrary, that the Yahudim had rule over them that hated them. The Yahudim gathered themselves together in the cities throughout all the provinces of the king Xerxes to lay hands on such as sought their hurt, and no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people. And all the rulers of the provinces, and the deputies and officers of the king helped the Yahudim, because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out through all the provinces. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater. This the Yahudim smote all the enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated them. And Shushan the palace of Yahudim slew and destroyed 500 men. And the 10 sons of Haman the son of Hadma, the enemy of Yahudim, slew they, but on the spoil laid they not their hand. On that day the number of those that were slain in Shushan the palace was brought before the king. And the king said unto Esther the queen, The Yahudim have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan the palace, and the 10 sons of Haman. What have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now what is thy petition, and it shall be granted to thee? Or what is thy request further, and it shall be done? Then says Esther, If it pleases the king, let it be granted to the Yahudim, which are in Shushan, to do tomorrow also according unto this day's decree, and let Haman's son be hanged on the gallows. And the king's commanded it so to be done. And the decree was given at the Shushan, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. For the Yahudim that were gathered in Shushan gathered themselves together on the month's 14th day also of the month Adar, and slew 300 men at Shushan, but on the prey they laid not their hands. But the other Yahudim that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together, and stood for their lives, and had rest from the enemies, and slew at their foes 75,000, for they laid not their hands on the prey. On the 13th day of the month of Adar, and the 14th day of the month same rested they, and made it day of feasting and gladness. But the Yahudim that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day thereof, and on the 15th day of the same day were rested, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Thereon the Yahudim of the villages that dwell in the unviolent towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and of sending portions one to another. And Mordecai, this is the command to keep the this now comes a command to keep the Purim feast. And Mordecai wrote these things, and sent letters unto all Yahudim that were in the provinces of King Xerxes, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and the 15th day on the same yearly, as the days wherein the Yahudim rested from the enemies, and the month which was turned unto them for sorrow to joy, and from mourning into good day, that they should make it them a feast of feasting and joy, and to send portions one to another, and gifts to the poor. And the Yahudim understood to do as they had begun, and Mordecai had written unto them, because Haman the son of Hamada the Akkadite, the enemy of the Yahudim, had devised against the Yahudim to destroy them, and had caused poor lots, that is the lot to consume them and to destroy them. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked device, which he devised against the Yahudim, should return upon his own head, and that he and his son should be hanged on the gallows. Wherefore they called these days Purim, after the name Pur. Therefore all the words of this letter, and that which they had seen concerning this matter, had come unto them. Yet the Yahudim ordained and took upon them, and upon the seat, upon all such as joined to themselves together unto them, so that it should not fail, that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing and according to their appointed time every year. And these are the days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city. And these days are Purim, shall not fail from among the Yahudim, nor the memorial of them perish from the seed. Then Esther the queen and the daughter of Abihail and Mordecai the Jew wrote with all authority to confirm this second letter of Purim. And he sent the letters unto all the Yahudim to the 127 provinces of the king of Artaxerxes, with words of peace and truth, to confirm these days of Purim in their times appointed, according as Mordecai the Yahudim and Esther the queen had enjoyed them, and as they had decreed for themselves for the seed, the matters of fastings and cry. And the decree of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, and it was written in the book. And the king Artaxerxes laid a tribute upon the land and upon the isles of the sea, and all the acts of his power and his might, and a declaration of the greatness of Mordecai, whereunto the king advanced him they not written in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Media and Persia, for Mordecai the Yahudim was next unto the king Artaxerxes, and great among the Yahudim, and accepted of multitude of his brethren, seeking the wealth of his people, and speaking peace to all his seed. This is a command to keep Purim. It is a deep meaning, cause our sole enemy, Satan, has also come against us since Genesis 3. And you remember, everything in the book has more than just a story. And the Bible is true. The scripture is true always. And I think people should read for themselves the book. The Bible is truth. The Bible is completely truth. And for those of you who think that makeup is not good, I think if you use it to look natural, maybe I say it as my own opportunity. If you use it decent and not like looking like from carnival, you can do it. But to do makeup, jewelry, whatever, is not sin. What is sin is to use it for adultery. As adultery. Adultery is the extreme sin. And to misuse it for false pagan deities. But about jewelry, whatever, comes another video, not here. This video was about Purim, because Purim is on the 16th and 17th March. This week is Purim, and I wanted to inform you what Purim is all about, because it is a command to keep it. The book of Esther is telling it. And to dig behind the scenes of what the book of Esther means in details, there's much in it, much hidden. And I will place the Greek versions, the Aramaic versions when I find it, and the Hebrew version in the comment section, and you can read for yourself, discover for yourself, dig in the scriptures, and you find truth for yourselves. I hope this helps, and Yahuwah bless you and keep you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuwah lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom. I hope this helps you to understand the detailed meaning of the truth, yeah, because scripture is truth. It will not fade away. I hope it helps you.